Welcome back, men. As we start the 4 pillars of manhood, I want you to try to pick up on how they're all interlaced and how they affect each other. If we are weak on one, then we are as wobbly as a 3-legged table. Passivity, the art of being inactive, is something that is embedded in all men. I find myself justifying it by saying, I need a break, or I had a hard day at work and I need some me time. I'll see things that need to be done around the house and I'll think, why hasn't my wife done that yet? Instead of doing it myself. I want to flow with the river, not against it. I see a friend in sin and I'll tell myself, don't say anything. That's not worth the argument or the hassle. At work, something needs to be done, but that's not my job, so I'm not doing it. This passive mindset was given to us from our first earthly father, Adam. When Adam was created, he was given a job. He had work to do, and I'm assuming he was good at it. As a man, though, he had the passivity gene, and it manifested itself at the worst possible time. It happened in Genesis 3:6, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some of it and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Wow, did you hear that? He was with her. He wasn't out working the field. He wasn't at home and she snuck it into his dinner. He was with her the whole time. He never told the serpent to go away. He never tried to stop Eve. Say what you want about Eve, but Adam passively sat by and allowed sin to enter the world. You can also look at Abraham, who God personally told he would give him an heir, but because it wasn't on his wife's timeline, Abraham listened to his wife and slept with his servant. And that led to a lot of turmoil in his house, especially after he got the son God promised him from his wife. Going with the flow and against God's wishes may seem fine in a moment, but there is always a consequence for disobedience. Your passivity can have an even worse effect on the people you are leading. In Exodus 32:1, the people grew tired of waiting for Moses, who was on top of a mountain talking to God. The people pleaded with Aaron, the brother of Moses, to make them a lowercase g god, to worship. Aaron failed to lead courageously and passively complied with their demands, which led to 3,000 people losing their lives in Exodus 32:27 through 28. Okay, that might be a little dramatic for the majority of us, because our passivity won't be that drastic, but when you think about it, it could affect our families for generations. If we show our sons that there is nothing wrong with being passive, they'll be passive and raise passive boys themselves. Our daughters love us, and they will fall for passive men like us, and then it goes on and on. It can suck the life out of a marriage, and it can raise resentful kids. It can keep you from fulfilling the plans that God has for you in your life. We have to be active in our church, our house, and our work. Being a passive husband puts an undue burden and stress on a wife. No matter what TV and politics tells us, a woman's security in her marriage comes from the fact that her husband will provide for her. It's the way we were designed. She needs to know that if she wanted to, she could quit her job and know that her husband will provide for the family. To be the leaders God wants us to be, we can't be passive. We have to step up and be in charge. We have to take the lead in date night planning, which can be hard when your wife only knows what she doesn't want to eat, which is normally what you want. The fact that you are making the plans will do so much more for your role as head of the house. When I got married, I wanted a wife that could make all the household decisions because my job required me to leave a lot, and I wanted my wife to be able to run the household in my absence. Due to the fact that I always couldn't get to a phone or a computer, I needed her to make decisions without me. At least that's what I told myself. In reality, I did not want to do any of the adult stuff. I was fine to play with the kids and go to work, but the day-to-day running the family required me to put on my big boy pants, and I was not ready for that. When I was home, I let her be in charge, the matriarch. In my home life, I was so passive, I got into a groove of letting my wife take charge of everything, and I just rolled with it. I was a vacant dad and a husband. The stress that this put on my wife at the time was insane. When I'm passive, it's like having another kid in the house. My passivity will become my wife's burden. As godly men, we have to be active. We have to seek out the things that need to be done and do them. When Nehemiah found out that the walls of Jerusalem were broken, he went out to fix it. He was in another city and worked for the king as a cupbearer. His heart was crushed at the thought of Jerusalem in shambles, and he asked for permission to rebuild the city. Jesus shows us this also. He always went out to the people. He could have easily sat in one town square and preached, but he didn't. Matthew 8:18, when Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross the lake to the other side. He keeps it moving. Jesus was also not afraid to do the right thing. Matthew 21:12, Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said, to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. Jesus saw the sin in the temple and did not turn a blind eye. Now, don't go this extreme at work or in your church. Jesus was a trained professional. But we can speak up about the sin we see around us. Jesus went out to the people who were considered unclean or Gentiles to show them God's love and healing. When confronted by the Pharisees over who he was, he never backed down. Reading about Jesus, you will see that he was never passive. From a worldly perspective, Jesus seems passive, but he shows us that we don't have to be the macho, full of bravado, take BS from nobody guy. That's just pride. What we can be is the I see something that needs to be done and I will do it guy. The kids are screaming when I get home, I'll jump in to mediate or to comfort. I see a hole in my church, I'll pray for clarity on how God can use me to fix it instead of complaining about it. Fellas, we can no longer sit and let the world pass us by. Isaiah 6:8, then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and whom will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me.